I'm back with John Laghetto.
How we doing?
John and I went to middle school, high school together, so similar to Devin and Robbie, just guys that have gone through the process in Winchester growing up together and then found their way into commercial real estate. We all have different paths and have different expertise within the field, but it's cool to get to talk to you guys. And even though we have all the history, just in a different realm. So if you want to just start off with a brief introduction of who you are, what you're up to.
So I'm John Laghetto. I work for Eastern Property Management. We are property management for HOAs, residential mostly. Okay. We do have one shopping plaza. It actually burned down last year, so we've been dealing with that. It was just insurance, which we'll get into. But we have about 33 apartments and about 900 what we call doors, like units each one, all up along the North Shore. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I just help manage all those, go into everything. Yeah.
And how did you get into this line of business?
So I've always been interested in real estate, and that's really what I wanted to do, is be a real estate agent, which I'd still down the line at some point definitely want to do that. But my dad coincidentally bought this company. It was super, super small. I think there was only about 8-10 properties maybe. Okay. And in 2015 he bought it, and he's been able to scale it a lot. And when I got out of college, I tried my hand in real estate, but I just had no money. I wasn't a part of any team or anything. I was just grasping at straws, texting, calling everyone I knew, saying, let me get you an apartment, but it wasn't working out. And my dad really, really needed the help, so it was just good timing, and that's when I started here.
Okay. And how long have the two of you been working together?
About a year now, actually. Yeah. It's been going good.
And how's that been with the father-son dynamic? Has it been tough, or?
Yeah, like at work, we're co-workers, and we leave everything here. Like, we'll scream at each other here, blah blah blah. But once we get home, we're fine. It's not a big deal. It's just how it goes.
That's awesome. That's special. I mean, a lot of people don't get that opportunity to work so closely with your dad, and you spend so much time at work, so then being able to have that moments.
It is really nice. It really is nice being able to spend so much time with him, especially because I was away for college. Yeah. So it's cool.
And then you mentioned that you guys focus on HOA. You want to give the audience a brief summary of what an HOA is?
Yes, I would love to, because no one ever seems to know what the hell they are, to be honest. So we typically mostly focus on HOAs, homeowners associations, condominiums, another word for it, which is big buildings, developments, townhomes, where each resident owns their unit, and they all have an obligation, a financial obligation to the property as a whole. So they pay monthly condo fees, which the nicer ones can get up to like $1,000 a month for them. The lesser ones, $300, and it's all about percentage, like how big your unit is and percentage to the whole thing, and that's your obligation. And how they make those decisions, what to do with their money, how to upkeep the property, is they have elected board members, and that's who we deal with on as far as the financials and all the decisions and all that. So we have to work. Yeah, we just work with the board mostly.
And how does that dynamic work? What are some of the projects that they would use these financial?
Anything, just like owning a house, you need a new roof every 25 years. So that's a big one. That's something that, condos have to plan for years and years in advance, because those are 6-figure projects. So, those, like painting, chips, everything, new carpets, a lot of them have pools. So they have to decide how to, upkeep the pool, if they want to hire a lifeguard, all that type of stuff.
All right, that makes sense. If we're like painting a picture, if we have a giant not apartment building, but a building that has, let's say, 20 condos in there, you all are helping them with the common area aspect of it.
Yes.
So the roof, which would be common, the pool, which would be common, and that's where you guys come into play. Are you coming up with the budgets, or how does that
work? We're in charge that's why they hire us to help them out with all that, because a lot of people aren't so savvy with that type of stuff, which is fine. That's why they hire us. We draft budgets for them for the year. This is how much money you have. Where you're going to spend the money, where you need to spend the money.
Yeah.
Do you want to improve anything? Okay, we might have to levy a special assessment.
Okay.
Which is basically just like a fast forward, like next month your condo fee is double what it is, so we can get more money in to do this project and that type of stuff. So and also, as far as another big thing that we do is when they decide that they want a project, we have to find the vendors. So we're legally obligated to get at least 3 bids from 3 different companies.
Okay.
And we have to present those to the board, and we have to give advice. This one's the most expensive, but they're better. This one's less expensive, but this one's the best bang for your buck, blah, blah, and all that type of stuff. So.
Oh, that's great. And then, are there any projects that stand out that you've been able to work on?
As far as projects, let me think about that.
Or like a project, let's say a condo needs a new roof and you're going out getting the 3 vendors. Is there anything like that?
Yeah. That's like a lot of my my daily routine is acquiring bids for these, and along with that, it's so important to have good relationships with these vendors. So they wanna do the work, and once you have that, it's really nice because there's so many properties and we can distribute the work other ways, and it's really.
How do you find these vendors? Are you going through referrals, or do you already kind of have people on?
We have a pretty decent list. It's just over time, even we don't always hire the right one, so. If someone does a bad job or whatever, we know not to hire them again, so they're off the list. And then, you just word of mouth, you hear stuff. When you're in the industry enough, you start to learn every company and how they operate and all that.
I agree.
Yeah.
And you said something that is huge that I harp on a lot is relationships. It is all business is a relationship business, but even I would say in real estate in particular, with relationships with vendors, relationships with the board, relationship with your coworkers, it just makes life a lot easier when you build that.
Yeah, it really does. Once getting on a board member's bad side is just such a slippery slope, because then they're going to be on you. They're not going to trust what you have to say, your input. So it gets really like conniving and stuff like that. So. It is really important to keep every relationship you have.
And then how do condos find your company? Are you all going out trying to strum up that business? Are they coming through word of mouth?
Yeah, well, so actually, because we're in a place to grow, we're actually starting to look into more marketing. We don't really have any of that at the moment. It's mostly word of mouth. We are looking into maybe like a billboard. Instagram page, something along those lines. We're not really too inclined with that. But yeah, I mean, this is a very what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. It's like niche, maybe, or
no. Like the turnover. We'll have a property for a year and then they say no,
really?
Thank you, and then but we have ones that we've had for 15, 20 years, and that's all again, if it's just stuff that builds up.
What is the dynamic like between you and the board? Are you ever interacting with people that aren't on the board, or are you specifically just with the board?
Oh no, yeah. Every owner has full access to us, and they have all our emails and our phone numbers, and we communicate with all of them because they're obviously just as important. It's just more just for big projects and big picture stuff, that's where the board has to make those decisions. But day-to-day stuff, someone's someone's roof, someone's ceiling is leaking or something, like that's the resident above them, so we have to talk to both of them. Like the board doesn't really need to be involved in that type of stuff. They will get involved when it's time to say, okay, who's responsible for that? You know what I mean? Is it the person above? Is it the person below? Is it the condo association as a whole? Are they gonna take that charge? That's when the board will get involved in that type of stuff.
That one might get pretty hostile sometimes.
Oh yeah, dealing with like resident disputes is also a big thing. Which that's something about this job I actually really despise. Okay. Because they a lot of times they'll look at us as like mitigators or like even like babysitters. Like I feel like I'm a teacher, like having to like dish out punishments. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't like someone has something hanging on their door. It's against the condo docs. Yeah. Just go knock on their door and ask them to take it down, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like why do I have to be the one to do that? I know it's part of the job, but it's like, petty stuff like that really bothers.
So how do you navigate stuff like that?
You just got to be patient. Everyone's different. At the end of the day, it is my job, and so you just got to deal with it. Yeah. You got to be reasonable.
Yeah, like you said, you are kind of that in between. You're almost like the voice of reason at times. Yeah. And you mentioned something about condo docs. Could you explain what condo docs are and how that comes into play here? Because those are super
Yes, I'd be glad to. If you're buying a condo association, read your condo docs. You'd be amazed how many people buy a condo and just have no idea what that entails. I don't care if the walls get painted. Why do I have to pay for that? You know what I mean? Yeah. But the board made the decision that the walls need to get painted. My back deck's fine. Why do I have to pay for someone else's back deck getting repaired? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that type of stuff. But in all, condo docs. When I say condo docs, I mean a couple things. I mean the master deed, which was when the association was first developed. They just write a master deed saying, which maps out the percentage interest in each unit, and describes the common areas. What is the unit owner's responsibility and what is the common area, the whole condo association's responsibility. And then along with that is the declaration of trust, which that goes into place once the developer hands it over to the owners.
Kind of like the master deed is what is in the property, and the declaration of trust goes into more detail, like how to manage the property.
Yeah,
I have to deal with this. I have to deal with condos as well over in the Seaport, but instead of being residential condos, it's commercial condos. So we have a retail owner, and then we have an office owner, but it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, and then the third document will be the bylaws, which that has to do with the rules and regulations and all that type of stuff. Basically, what the restrictions are on as a unit owner, so as all that, can you have pets? Can you repair what can you repair within your walls? Can you have decorations? Parking, all that type of stuff is in the bylaws, and people just don't read them. And that is just it's really frustrating. It's not really easy to understand, but a lot of people just think that they can buy a condo and then it's like they want to own, but then they want to have all the perks of renting.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Just get everything fixed for free. Nothing's my fault. Yep. Nothing's my responsibility. But that's not the case. At the end of the day, they own their apartment. It's theirs. You know, and they're responsible for that. So
So we might that to just elaborate. As an apartment, they might have a maintenance team, and let's say you have your microwave's busted. You call the maintenance team, and they come in. We're in a condo. your microwave's busted, it's on you to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah, and you have to pay for it
exactly.
too.
So with your company being, do you all also do the maintenance aspect?
Yeah, so we have 2 field techs they're amazing. Mike and Ray they're just kind of jack of all trades guys. You know, they're not masters of anything, but they can do it all. You know, carpentry, electric, plumbing, HVAC, all that type of stuff. They're painting. So small projects we'll give to them.
Okay.
Which is really good. So they have a sheet for the week, and they just go around and get everything done that they can. But for bigger projects, we have to outsource for all of that stuff. That's when the bidding process starts and all that.
So that's pretty cool. So your team doesn't just do budgets, financials. You guys also do the maintenance, but then you would charge back the owners.
Yes, yeah. Well, we would charge back for materials, labor, all of that. That's a really good way to make money. Actually, me and my dad disagree on that. I say, Dad, hire 10 more. You know what I mean? That's just, obviously you have to pay them, but that's just so much money putting directly to us. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's just a risk thing. You know, that's just a lot more on the payroll. Yeah. And when you can just get other companies to do this stuff, yeah.
So is that for other condo associations? Do they have that same dynamic where the condo manager also does maintenance, or is that kind of unique to your company?
Yeah, most property management companies on the condo side have it's the same, and they have a couple guys for the small stuff. Okay. Because you don't. Yeah, if your toilet's clogged and it's an easy fix, and you call a plumber, he's gonna charge you $500. That's true. We'll do it for $75. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And how did you all decide to get into the HOA field rather than, let's say, traditional property management for apartments?
That beats me. You're gonna have to ask the boss about that one. The company was when we acquired it. That's just what they were in HOAs, and we decided to just stick with them. It's now that we're in a good position to grow, we are looking elsewhere, more commercial. Okay. We have one shopping plaza that is a good source of income, so maybe getting a couple more of those as well.
And when you say you guys own that?
No. We manage it.
Oh, you manage it?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Is that the one that burned down?
Yes, it did.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so a year ago we had a shopping plaza in Linfield. MJA Realty owns it, and they had there's like a Dunkin' Donuts in there, a convenience store, jewelry store. And it burned completely to the ground.
What started the fire?
Electrical or something. I think it was the Dunkin' Donuts actually started the fire. So that has been a huge headache. Mostly just dealing with the insurance, which is, and when it comes to condos, I'm still in the learning process of it. It's very hard to understand. So
what do you mean by, why is it so difficult? Because I kind of have an idea, but
there's the thing about insurance for condos is there's an insurance on the condominium on the property as a whole. Okay. And then each resident also has their own insurance policies. Okay. So it's just having, when issues come up, it's just having to deal with both insurance companies, and like I said, it's like still a learning process. The terminology is just so like meticulous. I don't know, and it's just tough. And when you're dealing with really big numbers, really big figures, it's hard to like having to tell people like your insurance isn't going to cover that $25,000 thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because something else too that I just learned really is with a lot of these condos when they have the insurance on the whole property, the deductible for the condo is usually very, very high.
Yes.
Where it could be like, hey, we need to have $100,000 worth of damage before the insurance even kicks in.
Exactly.
And then the process of trying to figure out if there's actually $100,000 worth of damage is an absolute headache, because some people are like, this is worth this. Another person, the insurance is like, no, it's worth this, and then it's just 2 years later you still haven't even sorted it out.
Exactly. Yeah. They also just take so long.
Yeah.
And it's just so draining.
So did they rebuild the property?
They're in the process of it now. They're still getting all the rubble out of there. It's yeah.
And how do you
because of dumpsters and stuff.
What's wrong with the dumpsters?
Well, yeah, you can only have so many at a time, and you have to, take them off, and then it takes a couple days for a new one to come, so you can start cleaning up again.
And what do you guys now? How are you all shepherding that process? Are you just strictly working with the insurance companies and trying to sort all that out, or are you also helping with the remediation?
Fortunately, the insurance is mostly taken care of.
Okay.
We just authorized like a $1.5 million insurance transfer to them, so they're all set on that aspect finally. So they can start rebuilding now, which is nice. But we actually weren't involved in hiring like the company to take all the rubble out and rebuild it. We're more just keeping up with smaller stuff that they need at the moment. Just like checking the dumpsters, making sure that they're gonna get picked up and all that type of stuff. Just more overseeing it, making sure it's all running smoothly. Mm-hmm. But we weren't directly involved in that. Yeah.
And then kind of going in a different direction, how do you all get paid out by condos? I don't know if you can talk about that.
No, yeah. So when we enter into a contract with a condominium, we have it all mapped out in details. What our typical service charges are, like when we send the field techs out, and then they have monthly management fees. Okay. Which usually is pretty in line with their condo fees. So I get another $400 to $500 to $1,000 depending on what the property. I don't think any of our fees are $1,000. I think our highest one's like $600 maybe. Okay. And that gets paid. That's directly to us each month. Okay. So their condo fee gets put into the condo's bank account. Yep. The management fee gets put into our bank account, and that's how we make our money. That's where the profit is. So yeah, it's like a monthly charge. Yeah.
And do you all negotiate what that is, or how does that usually?
No, it's not really a negotiation. When an association will reach out to us, it's the same process as like getting a bid. They'll reach out to a bunch of companies. Okay. And and then we'll send them our terms, our contract, and give it out. I'm sure there's some that are more expensive than ours, that are bigger, that are bigger companies. But so they can do more. And then there's probably some that are less than us, but probably not as I like to think probably not as qualified.
There we go.
Yeah, and when condos are going through this process, they have to decide what type of company they want. Okay. Because having a big management company is great because of all the resources that it entails, but it's not very personal. It's really easy for big companies to, especially if you're a smaller condominium. If you only have 20 units and they have 100 unit condos, like they're gonna neglect that property really hard. And I think we're in a good spot where we're the right size. Okay. That we're big enough that we have the resources, but we're also small enough where where it's a personal company. They're dealing directly with the owners, with the owner of the company and my dad and me and Danielle, who's another person here, and they like that a lot.
That's great.
We're at all the meetings and all that type of stuff.
So do you think that's your competitive advantage over other management companies?
Yes.
That personal feel?
Yes. As far as HO, where we are right now, I'd definitely say we're like the perfect size for day-to-day operations. But that's just something you have to decide, it's just like with anything. When the more properties you have, the less attention you're gonna give to each one.
Yeah.
So it's a really give and take where you have to decide, you know, like I already pertained to, we're in like a good spot for growth, but you know, we don't want our quality to work to go down.
Yeah.
And we don't want to, you know, start putting condos to the side and all that type of stuff. So it's something to think about.
Yeah. So as you guys grow, how are you going to keep the quality up still? Have you all thought about that?
It's a good question. I think the fact that people really like that. You know, my boss is also my dad. You know, they see the same last name. So I think moving forward, because right now we're kind of all just doing the same thing, helping out in every property. We might just have to, you know, just draw a line in the sand and say, okay, my dad has this 20-something properties. I have this 20 properties.
Yeah.
Danielle has this 20 properties. You know, and more, you know, distribute it more so like they're only dealing with us and all that. I think that's probably the way that we're gonna have to go about it. So
centralized command, and then maybe you have a team under you, your dad has a team under him, and Danielle has a team under her.
Exactly, yeah.
And
that's the goal.
Dude, that's awesome. And how big is the team here?
Here we have 4 people in the office on a daily.
Okay.
We have, but I mean, my dad's always at the office. Like he's always, you know, checking up, because you have to. The best way to manage these properties is just go to them once a week and just walk around them. That's what you'll see what needs to be done, all that. Keep a list, and then me and Danielle are just answering. We get hundreds of emails a day. Because like I said, the residents have all our info. A lot of. And at the end of the day, you do have to respond to them.
Yep.
Because that will add up. You know, if someone puts in a maintenance request or something, even if it's something really stupid and benign, you just have to respond and say, this is your responsibility or whatever. So yeah, just email correspondence. That's like that. And then, you know, just making sure that financials are in check. We have to do all the bank reconciliations to put into Buildium, which is our software, which is pretty good. I like it.
There you go.
It's a little choppy.
Okay.
Like you can't like once you click a link, it like opens a whole new tab for Buildium. You know what I mean? You can't really streamline it all. But that's about, and then
Oh, you said bank reconciliation. What is that? So
we have access to all the bank accounts for the associations, and so when we get the statements for each month, it's nothing crazy. You just have to go into the software and just make sure it lines up, everything's right, because you know the banks make a ton of errors as well. So you just have to get all that in line, and you know, some properties are easier than others to do that, because I mean some of them have so many charges going in and out, like the bigger ones, and it's sometimes the numbers get really big. Yeah. So that's a little intimidating. Like if you see like $10,000-$20,000 missing, you're like, what the hell? What did I do? You know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, and then yeah.
And with the dynamic, going back to your dad, working with him, what are some of the biggest lessons he's taught you so far?
It's a good question. My dad, this is something I lack, is so patient. Like he'll sit on the phone and talk to a disgruntled owner or something for like an hour and just go through it all, and they'll be screaming at him and he'll just cool, calm, and collected the whole time. And you know, because it is their home, and they're no matter how small or whatever, their reasons are valid always. Yeah. They're not happy with something that's going on in their own house, and we're responsible for that. It is always valid. So just staying calm and being patient, and you know, remembering that this is our job. We are property managers, and as a property manager, you know, they say it like this is like chapter 1 of the book. You have to treat each property like it's your own and make every decision like it's your own, and and that's like that's your neighbor that's mad about something. You know what I mean? Patience is the biggest thing.
That's great.
That he taught me for sure.
Yeah, and being in the property, because I do property management as well, and what John's talking about is a lot of times people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And they want to know that somebody's on the other side of the email. You might not necessarily be able to fix it, but as long as you say, hey, we're going to look into this, then they realize, hey, somebody's doing this, somebody's responding.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, Brennan. Like, they really just want to be heard. Like they just want to know that someone is listening to them and taking care of their problem. And a lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the grease too.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true.
If I never hear from you, and if I might, because you miss an email here and there. But if you send that third email, I'm gonna get on it. Mostly just because I don't want to deal with you anymore. You know what I mean?
It's such a good point. I think a lot of people too listening, you should take this away. If you're in an apartment, if you're in a condo, speak up.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times people just live with things because they don't want to be a nuisance, but property managers are there to fix it.
Yeah.
Or I would say in good faith, most people are there to fix it.
Yeah.
And they won't know that you have a problem until you bring it up to them. So
exactly.
Do not feel that you're being an inconvenience. Send the email. Send 2 emails. Give them a call. Like, build a relationship.
Exactly.
Because then maybe John's on the other side, and John's going to go send his guy out there, and he's going to fix whatever's going on, and they'll get sorted out. But I see a lot of times people be like, oh, I hate my landlord, and then, I have this, and this, and I'm like, have you reached out to them?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you expect then? You know what I mean?
And that might just be something, given that we're in the industry, that we know. Why, what about real estate attracted you from the start, for example? Because you said you tried your luck out of college. What do you mean by that? Were you trying to be an agent, a broker?
Yeah, I was just trying to be like an independent agent.
Okay.
I just always been into, having a property is just such like a good financial decision, no matter what, and just learning the ins and outs of that, because eventually, this is another aspect of this company that we'd like to do, is start acquiring some of our own. And once you have a property that you're renting out and just getting that income each, real estate interests me just because I've had people in my life that have had a second rental property that they rent out and all that type of stuff, and that just that monthly income over years and years is just a great way to build wealth, and just gives you a whole nother aspect of financial freedom. Yeah. And it opens up so many doors, because when you have a property, you can put that against a loan or something like that. You know what I mean? It just opens up so much more for you. And so that's what interested me in the first place, and definitely want to get back to that. Maybe hopefully using the resources of this company too.
That's great.
To get into that, yeah.
Did you study real estate at all in college, or?
I didn't know. I'm certified in everything. Honestly, studying for the test will just give you so much knowledge that I still use, and it's a lot of similar terminology and stuff. So I've been able to use that in this as well. So I don't regret going through that process and getting my real estate license at all. It definitely helped me a bunch. So yeah.
It's pretty much, for people that don't know, that test is just pretty much all things real estate.
Yeah,
that you gotta understand.
It's just terminology and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so being able to have that in your back pocket and pull it out, and just having the holistic knowledge is super.
There's actually a whole. Sorry to cut you
off. Oh, it's all good.
There's actually a whole branch of the part of the test that's on HOAs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and do you have to renew that license every so often, or?
I think every 5 years.
Okay.
So mine might be coming up soon. Actually, I might have to look into that.
All right.
Yeah.
And then going back into your day to day, are there any, give a favorite project, a favorite property?
Favorite? Yeah, the ones I don't hear from. No, I'm serious, dude. We have properties we've never heard from them. Like, and they must be happy with everything that we're doing, you know.
Yeah.
We have the annual meeting once a year and then nothing, radio silence. So those ones are great. I love those ones. And then also the ones who have money.
What do you mean by that?
Like the ones who have actually built up money in their reserves and in their checking accounts, and it has nothing to do with how nice the property is. Some of our nicest ones are completely broke, as far as the condo association is concerned. And you know, when they don't have money, so we're not paying these vendors.
Correct.
The condo association is.
Yeah.
So, but the vendors don't understand that. We hired them, and we're the ones that distribute the checks. So they they think we're the ones paying them, and so they'll decide they want to do something. It gets done, and then they don't have the money to pay for it. If they would check with us, it would be our job to tell them, you can't do this, you don't have the money.
Yeah.
So then the vendors are calling us, you know, where's my money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we can't, like, the condo doesn't have any money. We're going to have to do a special assessment or something like that. And then everyone gets so mad at the special assessments, the condo fee increases, all that type of stuff. So
how does that work get released if they don't have the money?
I mean, you know, like, this business is a lot of, like, not handshake deals, but you know, it takes a while to get paid a lot of the time for you know, services and repairs and stuff like that. So they'll just like go rogue and they'll decide they want to do something, they want to do it. We'll figure out the financials later, you know, all that type of stuff. And a condo association might, you know, they'll budget, well, we'll budget for them, you know, $10,000 for snow removal. November through March is like, they'll take the risk with March, a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, March it might snow, it might not. So they'll only do it through February. But then if a big snowstorm comes in March, we have to call the snow company to come remove it, and that's not part of the contract.
Yeah.
So that's a whole separate bill. And, you know, the bigger units, it's like $1,000, $2,000 for the snow, and if they didn't account for that, there might not be an extra $2,000 laying in their checking account.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets, you know, you try to budget as well as possible, but you know, things come up.
Yeah. Things
always come up where you need to pay something off real quick, or even if you do, we're gonna pay $10,000 on snow, the roof caved in or something, so that money has to go there immediately before the snow. So now the snow company it's gonna take a while for them to get paid.
Yeah.
And like I said, since we're the ones that are hiring them, and we're the ones that are responsible for distributing the checks to them, you know, they see our address on the mailing label, they think we're the ones that are paying them, because they don't know the intricacies of property management and HOAs and all that.
The nuances.
So then the vendors get on us for not paying them, and you know, you can explain it to them, but they don't care. They just want their money.
Yeah.
So that will hinder a relationship we have with the vendor forever, because a property didn't do what they had to do, or whatever, you know, just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's a big thing I don't think a lot of people realize, especially with construction and service companies, is they're almost playing bank account.
Yeah.
They're the bank where they have to front up a lot of this money to do the work, buy the parts, and it takes so long to get paid.
Yeah.
Especially with like, let's say you're a plumber and you have a smaller company and you're doing these jobs, a lot of it's out of pocket.
Exactly.
And then it takes, I don't know, whoever pay you 60 days down the line to finally get reimbursed for it, which can stretch a lot of these small businesses thin.
Yeah.
And what is, like, if somebody, because where I come from condos, it's with businesses, so they tend to have deeper pockets. When you're working with individuals, if somebody actually doesn't have $2,000 to front up.
No, yeah, I think about that all the time. It's like, damn, dude, exactly. And exactly, it's not a business. Like, I don't care about taking money from a business, but you know, having to tell, a single mom with 2 kids that she needs to cough up another $2,000, like that's it sucks. But that also goes into my point earlier, circling back to read your condo docs before you get a condo. At some point you're gonna get hit with a charge like that, because you have a responsibility to the condo.
Yeah.
And even if your unit isn't affected at all, the condo as a whole is.
Yeah.
So, and you have a financial responsibility to it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. Biggest takeaway: read your condo docs. And then going back to another dispute, just because some people might get confused by this. Let's say I live in a unit above your unit. My dishwasher leaks into your unit. Who's responsible for that typically? And how does that work with insurance?
Every situation's different. It's usually the person up, the person above would be the one responsible for obviously their unit and paying the unit below them. As far as insurance, that's where it gets tricky, because you have to deal with both insurance companies of them. They might have different deductibles, all that type of stuff. And like I said, I wish I knew more about insurance. I plan on learning it way more. It's just tricky, and if you're not a lawyer or an insurance agent, it's hard to read that stuff.
I agree.
And but I'm still learning, and it gets real dicey with that stuff. But along with that, if we'll hire a plumbing company, or even we'll go take a look at it immediately when it happens, they might determine that it's actually something to do with the whole building. Like, the whole building's pipes are messed up. It happened in this unit, but at the end of the day, this whole thing has to be repiped or whatever. So then that becomes a whole condo association problem. So the person on the other side of the building whose units aren't affected at all gets mad because they have to pay to repipe because someone's faucet broke in their unit. You know what I mean? And that's where it gets real dicey.
Oh, that makes sense. And like another simple example would be like in a neighborhood and there's a pothole on the opposite side of the street, and you're like, why do I have to pay for that if it has no effect on me?
Exactly.
So then if that happens and people refuse to pay, do you have to take them to court? How does that
play out? That's when legal action gets involved. But that's not our decision. That would be a vote of the board. And obviously you don't want to sue your neighbor. Just a relationship won't get rendered. So we try to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. That's obviously like a last resort.
Yeah.
And it comes to a vote usually, and just explaining again and again what they're financially responsible for and all that.
It always comes back to the documents.
Yeah, I haven't had a case yet where anyone had to get sued.
Okay.
So luckily, it's sometimes really hard to get the money from them, but at the end of the day, they usually come around.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then we'll wrap this up in a little bit with some lighthearted questions. One, I've been having conversations with people recently. I mean, my roommate right now in Southeast is Jack, and we have this talk all the time. And I'm curious about your thoughts about ChatGPT. Do you use that at work? I don't.
Danielle, who's me and her kind of do the same thing. Yeah. She is all about it, and so like if she's definitely helped me before, but like she's the AI person.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten involved with it. Not for any particular reason. I don't feel like, I don't know. I just like writing my own things down, because I'll understand it more if I write it down.
Yeah.
Instead of getting someone else to summarize it for me. So I personally like it, but where it's really, really good, and I always just have Danielle, can you do this in GPE for like announcements?
Okay.
When you have to send like an announcement about, I don't know, like a water shut off.
Okay.
Like you can just type into ChatGPT, water announcement for water shut off on this date. And then it'll go like super formal, like perfect format and wording and all that type of stuff. So that's what I use it for, but it's all through her.
Yeah.
I'll just ask Danielle to do it for me.
I'm in a very similar boat where I don't use it at all, and Jack uses it, and he's like, dude, you're missing out. Like, it makes you that much more efficient. But I like writing things out. And this
Exactly.
might seem crazy in 5 years when we're all using AI, but that's just kind of where I'm at.
What are your thoughts on AI as like a whole? Like, where do you see it?
Dude, I think
like, are you scared of it?
I don't know if I'm necessarily scared, but I think that it's starting to get really, really good really fast.
Yeah.
Like the technology is evolving super quickly in terms of, I feel like there'll be an inflection point where it just kind of gets to the Terminator aspect where it's just smarter than humans.
Yeah, I agree with that. Not that I'm a tech genius or anything. I just feel like at the end of the day, it's programmed to help us.
Yeah.
So, even if it gets smarter than us or whatever, if it's not helping us, it won't have a purpose. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's gonna turn on us because it's programmed to help us. No matter how smart it gets, it's still gonna help us at the end of the day. And I think optimistically, I think if it can get to a point where it just does all the work stuff for us, and we don't have to work as much, and money's not as much of an issue, and we can spend our time doing what we want to do with our days and our lives, and spending it with the people that we love and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it too, the machine learning aspect of machines being able to teach themselves, where you just write one code and then it starts writing its own code for itself, is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a tech guy. I can't get into that, but yeah, no, it is crazy. It is absolutely insane.
So we'll see. I mean, you got Elon Musk out there. He's doing with all the robots and whatnot. And then another question I like to ask is, how many days are you in the office? Are you working home?
I'm 5 days in the office. 5 days. You can't really do much from home. Besides answering emails.
Yeah.
But you can do that whenever, but everything else, no. You gotta be here, I think, when it comes to property management. And another thing is I'm not always in the office. I have to go to the banks and make their deposits once we collect the condo fees and everything. So I'm at the banks a lot. I'm at the post office a lot. And then little stuff if all our field techs are out and I have to, go open a door or go check something or let a vendor in, someone has a crack in their wall, go take a picture of it. I spend a couple hours a day doing that type of stuff. So I'm not always just at my desk in the office, which is probably one of the things I enjoy the most about this job.
Yeah, being able to get up and go places and travel. I agree with that, where it is dynamic.
And I also just can't work from home, and I'll just get distracted.
I'm in the same boat.
I'm
in the same boat. I also think that the learning, everyone's different and whatnot, but I prefer to work in the office too. So when you're in the office all the time, what's the dress code? Are you guys dressed up or?
No, we don't have a dress code, but you don't want to look like crap going to work, man. Just look good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Shower, look in the mirror before you leave, but no, nothing good. I like to switch it up. Sometimes I'll get button down, real formal. Sometimes I'll just have this jeans and a black tee.
Yeah.
This is probably as casual as I get.
Okay.
Right here, yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all right, and then to wrap up, in terms of let's say somebody that wants to get into the industry, what advice would you have for them? Kid coming out of college, because now we're about 5 years out of school, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I would say mostly know what type. If you're looking property management, more real estate, what type of property management are you going to be doing? Okay. Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it HOAs? Is it apartment complexes? Definitely gotta, find a path and learn everything about that.
Okay.
Because, it's super different. Managing an apartment complex versus a condominium is two different worlds. It's not even close to the same thing. So definitely figure out a path and find it. Getting, property management certified, being a certified property manager. Same thing with the real estate. It helped me a bunch. They're honestly pretty similar tests.
Okay.
Just studying for the test. You don't need to take any class or anything. Because when you sign up, they'll send you a bunch of resources.
Yeah.
So just take the test and pass it. You'll know so much more afterwards.
I didn't even know there was a certificate for being a property
manager. It's not something that any property management companies, it's not like a requirement. it's more just like a helper. Like, oh, he has all this and he's certified. You know what I mean? It's just like a little boost to the resume. It's not like a necessity.
Yeah.
Like you won't get it over someone more qualified just because you're certified, but you know it might help if there's two identical resumes. Help, and you'll also it'll teach you so you won't even know. You'll think you're just memorizing for the test, but you'll come out of it knowing so much more.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Just get better every day. And if you could see into the future, where do you see John in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, John, I would say has a lot more, is a lot busier, hopefully, because, you know, this business will grow and I'll take on, and also my dad's getting old, you know what I mean? So he's gradually just he's just giving me more and more responsibility until 5-10 years from now, it's all me and he can just sit back and collect the paycheck, you know what I mean? That, and I want to own, whether it's through me independently or through this company. I would love to acquire for myself and also apartment complex or something like that, a 2-family something, and start getting into that as well. Because when you do that, you get the rent and the management fee directly to the business. You get paid twice.
And you get the appreciation on the property.
Exactly.
So if you ever want to sell it down the line, and you get everything. Yeah. And it's just that sense of ownership too, and just the tangibility of real estate is something that I truly like. Yeah, it is. It's very interesting, the markets. But John, I appreciate you coming on, giving us the time, or giving me the time. I was late. I was freaking late.
All good.
We had technical difficulties. This is only the 4th interview of this series, and I appreciate John. One, I mean, we've known each other for so long, and then I foresee us continuing to know each other.
Of course.
And I got another call coming in. But you got any last things you want to say?
No, thank you so much for having me, man. This was great. Thank you. I'd love to come on again sometime.
Heck yeah. We'll be doing business in the future.
Of course.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.